Imagine waking up one day, after years of chasing success, only to find yourself standing at the pinnacle of your achievements, your name in lights, your bank account overflowing, your influence undeniable. Yet, in the quiet stillness of the early morning, when no one else is around, an unsettling realization creeps in. Something is missing, something vital. It's not just the emptiness of solitude or the crushing weight of responsibility that you feel, but something deeper, a dissonance between who you thought you'd become and who you really are now. You've made it. You've crossed the line you once thought would define your happiness. So, why do you feel this sense of unease? Why does success seem hollow? Why does the applause of others ring so differently from what you imagined? This is the paradox at the heart of success. We are taught to pursue it, to chase it relentlessly, convinced that once we have it, life will be better, more fulfilling. Yet, for many, the moment they reach that goal, the one they spent their lives striving for, it feels as though the universe has played a cruel trick on them. They stand there at the top of the mountain and realize that the summit they once dreamed of is nothing more than a mirage, a fleeting illusion. And this raises a question that cuts deep into the soul. Is success truly the answer we've been taught to seek? Or is there something fundamentally wrong with the very idea of success that we have been raised to worship? As you ponder this, you begin to ask yourself, what if the pursuit of success is not the answer to our deepest yearnings, but rather the source of them? What if success, the very thing you've been taught to chase your whole life, leads you into a deeper, more existential crisis? Is it possible that the more we attain, the more we lose sight of who we truly are? And if that's true, what's left when the chase ends? These are the questions that will guide us as we dive deeper into understanding why success, as we know it, may not be what it seems. What is the hidden force that drives us to pursue it? And why does it often lead to dissatisfaction? What lies beneath the surface of achievement and acclaim that we so desperately crave? So, before you continue, pause for a moment, look inward, and ask yourself, what have you truly been chasing all this time? Is it success? Or is it something far more elusive? Let this question linger in your mind as we begin to unravel the mystery of success, the dark side that remains hidden in plain sight. To understand why success so often leads to dissatisfaction, we must first confront a deeper, more troubling truth. The human mind is not naturally built for sustained achievement. Our minds evolved to survive, not to thrive in the conditions we created for ourselves in the modern world. The relentless pursuit of success taps into a psychological mechanism that was once vital to our survival, but has now been distorted by societal pressures and expectations. At its core, the pursuit of success is driven by something very primal, our need for validation. For centuries, philosophers and psychologists have pondered the nature of self-worth. Carl Jung, in his exploration of the human psyche, argued that much of our behavior is driven by the unconscious desire to become whole, to integrate the disparate parts of ourselves. He called this the process of individuation, where a person seeks to reconcile their internal contradictions and find a true sense of self. But what happens when the drive for success becomes a substitute for this inner journey? Jung suggested that people often seek external validation to compensate for feelings of inner emptiness, a process that leaves them constantly seeking something outside of themselves to define their worth. This can lead to a state of perpetual striving, an endless chase after external markers of success, without ever finding true fulfillment. The more we achieve, the more our sense of self becomes tethered to those external markers, which by nature are unstable and fleeting. Fame, wealth, and power can all slip through our fingers at any moment. Similarly, Friedrich Nietzsche's philosophy provides further insight into this paradox. Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch, the overman or superman, was not about conquering the world through external achievement, but about transcending one's internal limitations. True greatness, Nietzsche argued, comes not from accumulating accolades, but from creating one's own values and defining success on one's own terms. The constant striving for external success, he believed, can never lead to self-actualization because it is always determined by others. Yet, in modern society, we have inverted this notion. We idolize the pursuit of external success, assuming that it will lead us to self-fulfillment. We are conditioned to believe that if we reach the top, whether in our careers, relationships, or financial status, we will have finally made it. But this leaves us trapped in a cycle of dependence on others' perceptions of us, rather than fostering a deeper connection with ourselves. This disconnection between our true selves and the success we achieve is the root of the problem. If we look at this issue through the lens of existential philosophy, the works of Jean-Paul Sartre offer another layer of insight. Sartre argued that we are condemned to be free. This freedom, while liberating, is also a burden. In a world without inherent meaning, we are forced to create our own purpose. The modern obsession with success is, in many ways, an attempt to give our lives structure, to impose meaning where none inherently exists. However, as Sartre would argue, the problem is that the pursuit of success often leads us away from genuine self-definition and instead toward the validation of others. We are, in essence, creating a false identity, one that exists only in relation to the outside world and not based on our internal sense of purpose. But the philosophical and psychological forces behind this problem don't stop there. Modern society, particularly in capitalist cultures, exacerbates these existential pressures. We live in a world that is constantly pushing us to achieve more, to be more, to prove ourselves in ways that are measurable, observable, and quantifiable. The language of success, promotions, awards, recognition becomes so pervasive that we begin to equate our worth with our productivity. This can lead to burnout, anxiety, and a chronic sense of dissatisfaction, as the endless pursuit of more can never truly fulfill the deeper existential needs we carry inside. It is this mismatch between our natural psychological needs and the societal demands of success that creates the tension. We are led to believe that the more we have, the more we will be. But all the while, we lose sight of who we are beneath the titles, achievements, and accolades. The irony is that the very pursuit of success, intended to bring fulfillment, often distances us from it. So, the question arises again, why do we continue this endless chase? Why do we persist in striving for success when it only leads to emptiness? The answer lies in a psychological paradox that we must confront. Our desire for success is not just a thirst for achievement, but a desperate search for meaning, identity, and validation in a world that often seems indifferent to our struggles. Now, let's turn our gaze inward and examine the subtle, often unnoticed, consequences that result from this unrelenting chase after success. The implications of this deep-rooted issue are not confined to lofty philosophical debates. They are felt in the very core of our everyday lives, shaping our behavior, emotions, and identities in ways we don't even realize. At first, it's easy to overlook the way success influences us. After all, society celebrates the successful individual, the entrepreneur who built their empire, the artist whose work is lauded, the athlete whose feats are admired. Success is held up as a standard to which all should aspire. Yet beneath the surface of these celebrations lies an uncomfortable truth. The pursuit of success subtly warps our perceptions and molds our lives in ways that most of us fail to recognize. One of the most profound effects is the cognitive dissonance created by this pursuit. Cognitive dissonance, as defined by psychologist Leon Festinger, occurs when our beliefs and actions are at odds with one another, creating a state of psychological tension. In the context of success, we are led to believe that achieving certain external markers, wealth, fame, recognition, will bring happiness and fulfillment. However, once we attain them, we often find that the happiness we anticipated does not materialize. This disconnect between expectation and reality creates an inner tension that many attempt to resolve by doubling down on the pursuit, believing that the next achievement will finally bring the sense of satisfaction they crave. The more success we achieve, the more we become attached to it, and the less we are willing to let go of the external validation that comes with it. Over time, we begin to lose sight of who we are beyond these accomplishments, and this results in a phenomenon called identity foreclosure. In simple terms, this means that we become trapped in a particular identity, one based on external success, without ever fully exploring who we might be beyond it. This can lead to feelings of profound emptiness, as we realize that our sense of self has been constructed solely around external validation, leaving us adrift when that validation begins to fade. But the consequences are not just internal. This blind pursuit of success impacts our relationships, too. We become so consumed with climbing the ladder of success that we neglect those who are closest to us. Partners, family, friends, these relationships often take a back seat to career ambitions, as we focus on the next big goal. In fact, studies have shown that the more successful individuals are, the more isolated they tend to feel. The isolation stems not just from the demands of their work, but from the subtle yet insidious belief that others cannot understand their struggles, or that they are somehow inferior if they are not achieving at the same level. This creates a cycle where the more we achieve, the more we push others away, not out of malice, but because we are locked into a narrow worldview that defines our worth by external markers rather than internal connection. The impact of success on mental health is equally severe. Behind the facade of achievement lies anxiety, depression, and a constant fear of failure. As we climb higher and higher, the stakes grow greater, and the pressure to maintain success becomes unbearable. What's more, we begin to compare ourselves to others in a way that fuels constant dissatisfaction. The success treadmill becomes an exhausting race with no finish line, as the bar continually shifts higher, leaving us perpetually exhausted and never fully able to enjoy what we've attained. But the most insidious effect of all is the erosion of our own sense of purpose. Success, as it is commonly defined, is not inherently meaningful. It is simply the accumulation of power, wealth, or recognition. Yet we are taught to imbue it with meaning, believing that it will fulfill our deepest desires and needs. As a result, we end up measuring our lives not by the quality of our experiences, relationships, or sense of inner peace, but by the number of goals we've ticked off, the number of awards on our shelves, and the amount of money in our bank accounts. This external measure of success gradually replaces the internal sense of fulfillment and purpose, making us forget what truly brings joy, connection, creativity, authenticity, and self-expression. It's not difficult to see how this leads to a society built on hollow achievement. As individuals, we end up sacrificing the very things that can make us whole: personal growth, meaningful relationships, deep emotional connection, on the altar of success. And as a collective, we perpetuate a culture that values external markers of success above all else, leaving many to chase a dream that ultimately leads nowhere. In these unseen consequences, the personal and societal realities intertwine. The more we define ourselves by success, the more we, as a society, perpetuate a culture of competition, comparison, and isolation. The result is a deeply fragmented existence, one where individuals are trapped in an endless pursuit of validation and recognition, with little hope of ever finding true fulfillment. As this realization sinks in, you may start to wonder, how did we get here? How did we become so entangled in the idea of success that it now defines our entire existence? And more importantly, what could be done to break free from this cycle? The answers are not simple, but they lie in our ability to reimagine success, not as an external measure of achievement, but as a journey of personal growth and authenticity. This shift in perspective will not be easy, but it is a key to breaking free from the unseen consequences that keep us locked in a never-ending cycle of pursuit. It's easy to become overwhelmed by the idea that we are trapped in an endless loop, striving for an elusive prize that may never bring us the fulfillment we seek. The weight of success can feel like an invisible cage, tightening its grip as we continue to chase after something we've been told will define our lives. But what if there was another way? What if the very thing we are chasing, the concept of success, could be redefined in a way that frees us from the trap we've built around ourselves? To break free, we need to challenge the fundamental assumptions that have been drilled into us since childhood. The idea that success is a destination, that it is something external we can achieve, and that it will ultimately lead to fulfillment. These beliefs have been instilled by the stories we hear, the culture we live in, and society that measures our worth in terms of external accomplishments. But what if we could rewrite those stories? What if we could create a new narrative, one that allows us to redefine success on our own terms? The first step in breaking free from the grip of traditional success is to question what we truly value. What is it that truly gives our lives meaning? If success as we know it is hollow, then what lies beneath the surface? What are we seeking when we chase accolades, recognition, and wealth? Is it the validation of others? Is it the illusion of control or power? Or is it something deeper? The desire to feel alive, to be present, to make a difference? Philosophers like Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust and became a prominent thinker on the meaning of life, offer invaluable insight into this process of redefinition. Frankl argued that the search for meaning is at the heart of a human experience. It is not success or achievement that makes life worth living, but the sense that our lives have purpose, that we are contributing to something greater than ourselves. Frankl's concept of logotherapy emphasized that the key to overcoming suffering and despair is to find meaning, no matter the circumstances. In essence, Frankl believed that we must look beyond success and fame to find a deeper sense of purpose, one that transcends external validation. To adopt this mindset, we must begin by separating our self-worth from our accomplishments. This requires a radical shift in perspective. Rather than seeing success as a final destination, we need to view it as a byproduct of living a life aligned with our values, passions, and authenticity. Success, in this new definition, becomes less about achieving external milestones and more about the process of becoming the person we are meant to be. Historical examples of individuals who rejected the conventional pursuit of success offer powerful lessons in how to break free. Consider the life of Albert Einstein, a man whose contributions to science changed the world, yet whose personal life was marked by a deliberate rejection of fame and conventional achievement. Einstein was not driven by the desire to be a household name or to be crowned the most successful physicist. Instead, he was driven by a thirst for knowledge and a sense of curiosity that transcended any external recognition. By focusing on his inner values and his love for discovery, he became one of the most influential figures in history, not by seeking success, but by following his own path. Similarly, the life of the poet Rainer Maria Rilke offers a profound example of someone who sought to break free from society's narrow definitions of success. Rilke spent much of his life writing poetry that was deeply introspective, philosophical, and challenging. He did not pursue fame or fortune, nor did he measure his worth by public approval. Instead, he sought to connect with the deeper truths of human existence and to express the full range of human experience through his work. In his letters to a young poet, Rilke advises the aspiring writer to turn inward, to embrace solitude, and to focus on cultivating an authentic voice rather than chasing external recognition. These examples suggest that true freedom comes not from climbing higher on the ladder of success, but from stepping off of it entirely. Instead of measuring our lives by the amount of recognition or wealth we accumulate, we can begin to ask ourselves, how can we live in a way that aligns with our true selves? What can we contribute to the world that is meaningful to us, regardless of whether or not it is recognized by others? The path to freedom requires a willingness to let go of the need for validation. This is not to say that we must abandon ambition altogether, but rather that we need to redefine what ambition means. Ambition should no longer be about accumulating external markers of success, but about cultivating a life that is rooted in authenticity, purpose, and self-expression. It is about asking yourself what truly matters to you, not what society tells you should matter, and pursuing that with passion and dedication. To break free from the trap of conventional success, we must also embrace the uncomfortable idea that failure is not only inevitable but also essential. In a world that celebrates only success, failure is often seen as something to be avoided at all costs. But failure, as many great thinkers and creators have pointed out, is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of growth. Each failure teaches us something valuable about ourselves and the world around us. It is through failure that we often find our most profound insights and breakthroughs. As the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard once said, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. In other words, it is only by reflecting on the path we've traveled that we can truly understand the meaning of our experiences. By embracing failure, we allow ourselves the freedom to grow, to learn, and to redefine what success truly means. The rebellion against the conventional definition of success, therefore, is not just about rejecting societal norms. It is about reclaiming our right to define success for ourselves. It is about living authentically, embracing our flaws and imperfections, and pursuing what truly matters to us without worrying about how it is perceived by others. In doing so, we free ourselves from the chains of external validation and create space for a deeper, more meaningful life. The question now becomes, are you ready to break free? Are you willing to challenge everything you've been taught about success and live life on your own terms? The rebellion has already begun. The choice is yours. In the end, the rebellion against the traditional concept of success leads to a powerful realization, one that shifts the very lens through which we view the world. This realization does not come easily, nor is it without struggle. It requires us to confront our deepest fears, insecurities, and doubts. But once we allow this understanding to take root, everything changes. Here is the ultimate truth. Success, in the way we've been taught to understand it, is not the answer to our deepest yearning for meaning and fulfillment. The harsh truth is that we were never meant to find lasting satisfaction in the external markers of achievement, because they are impermanent, fragile, and ultimately hollow. The true meaning of success, the one we've been searching for all along, is not something to be gained. It is something that is already within us. Think about this for a moment. The very thing we've been chasing, the accolades, the recognition, the power, the wealth, is not what will make us whole. It is not the pinnacle of success that will bring us peace, but the profound realization that success was never meant to be external. It was always about the journey inward, the process of becoming the truest version of ourselves. The paradox is that, in trying to achieve something outside of ourselves, we miss the point. The destination we sought was never external. It was internal all along. The greatest minds in history, from the Stoics to the existentialists, have pointed us toward this truth. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote extensively about the importance of focusing on the present moment, not becoming consumed by what others think of us or by the outcomes of our efforts. He saw success as an internal measure of virtue, of how we conduct ourselves in the face of challenges, not as a scorecard of achievements. The external world, he believed, is beyond our control, but our internal world, our character, our choices, and our sense of integrity, is within our power. In this light, success becomes not about winning or achieving, but about living with purpose, dignity, and authenticity. Similarly, the existential philosophers like Albert Camus insisted that meaning is not found in the external world or in the success we achieve within it. Instead, meaning arises from the way we respond to life's absurdity. Life does not provide us with an inherent purpose. Rather, we must create our own meaning through our actions, relationships, and the way we choose to live. In this sense, success becomes less about what we attain and more about how we choose to engage with the world, how we choose to respond to the challenges we face, and how we live authentically according to our deepest values. So, what does this ultimate realization mean for you? It means that the very thing you've been chasing, success, is not the key to fulfillment. The key lies in understanding that fulfillment is an internal experience, not something bestowed upon you by external forces. Once you internalize this truth, you begin to see that success, as defined by society, is a fleeting construct. It's an illusion, a measure created by others to keep you moving, keep you striving, but it's not a measure that defines you. In this moment of clarity, you realize that the pursuit of success was never about achieving something out there, but about understanding yourself, your values, and your purpose. You've been conditioned to believe that success is something to be won, yet the most profound success comes from embracing the present, living authentically, and understanding that the pursuit itself, when aligned with your core values, is the true reward. This realization brings a deep sense of freedom. It releases you from the endless treadmill of external validation and allows you to reconnect with what truly matters. The question then becomes, what will you do with this newfound understanding? Will you continue to chase after something that was never meant to satisfy you, or will you choose to forge your own path, free from the chains of conventional success? The final, most powerful truth is this. Success is not something that happens to you. It is something you choose to create. It is found not in the external validation of others, but in the quiet, personal moments of living in accordance with your true self. It's the freedom to choose what brings you joy, to live with purpose, and to create meaning in a world that often feels devoid of it. And as you stand in the stillness of this realization, you understand that the real journey, the one that matters, begins now. The pursuit of success, as it's commonly understood, is over. Instead, you embark on a new path, one where the only measure of success is how fully you live your truth. In this moment, everything becomes clear. You were never meant to be defined by your achievements. You were meant to live fully and authentically, embracing the beautiful complexity of your existence. That is the ultimate success, the freedom to be yourself, to let go of the false ideals that have bound you, and to create a life that reflects the truth of who you are. So, the choice is yours. Will you continue to chase an empty dream, Or will you embrace the truth that has always been within you? The final answer, the one that will set you free, is waiting inside you, ready to be discovered. All that remains is for you to claim it.